My name is Michael Paul Stevenson, Joshua Waits from The Worst Movie Ever Made, Troll 2, and the producer and director of the documentary Best Worst Movie. And this is GordonandTheWhale.com.
And I'm George Hardy, and we just had one of the funnest interviews today with GordonandTheWhale.com. I was in a movie back in 1989. It's called Troll 2, and it's become known as the worst film of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Did y'all see that movie George Hardy was in? Yeah, you know George, the dentist in town.
He did make this movie about 17 years ago. We didn't know whether to tell people about it or kind of keep it quiet.
I walked up to the counter and I said to the fellow, I said, I'm here to pick up a movie. It's called Troll 2. Oh my gosh, he said, that's the worst movie I've ever seen.
By every conceivable measure, this is a bad film. By every conceivable measure that you've ever learned in film school, if you've seen 5 movies in your lifetime.
I think I maybe hoped it wouldn't be as bad as it was, but it was.
I wasn't acting. I can tell you that that was a troubled person talking.
I just made it me.
What does it sound like? What kind of noise is it?
Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
All right, first question. To you personally, what is the sexiest part of a troll?
The sexiest part of a troll? In troll form or human form?
Both.
That's a good
Just
question.
listen to your heart.
I personally the way the trolls run, you know, the way they kind of run down the hallway, that's attractive to me. That's when they're in goblin form.
So you like motion.
Motion, right. I think it's, yeah, I don't know. And in human form, I would have to say, well,
Say
what? Yeah, I keep thinking of my mother being eaten on the kitchen table.
That is not what I expected you to say at all. I'm a little, wow, all right. I'll try to be,
That's
all right.
Please don't say that.
That was so good. Betty the Bug-Eyed Goblin, the one where the eye pops out, you know, it's kind of, you know, that's kind of erotic, where the eye comes out, you know, that's pretty. Yeah, and then in human form would be one of those women up in Heber. She's got blonde hair. I just never forget how good looking she is. She had the shag hairdo, and I'm telling you, I still think about it every night.
All right, out of a fight between a troll and Troll 2 and a troll and Ernest Scared Stupid, who would win?
I think Troll 2 trumps everything. What are you talking about? Yeah, Troll 2, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for insulting you.
I mean, first you tell me that Troll 2 is a bad movie, and now you're suggesting that a troll is weak.
Actually, you said Troll 2 was a bad movie when you called it the best worst movie.
No, I said it was the best worst movie. I never said it was a bad movie.
I'm sorry. I read things wrong all the time.
They hate us now.
Not at all.
My call's going away. Y'all are getting me tickled.
We got real questions coming.
Yeah,
at some
this
point.
is great. I love stuff like this. We've been asked the same thing over and over and over.
When did you guys? When did it turn from something that was kind of your awful shame to something that you loved to embrace and were actually proud of?
About 3.5 years ago, and it all was from the fans. You know, I started getting just simple little MySpace messages that eventually turned into emails where fans would send me pictures of these Troll 2 parties that they were having around the film. You know, they'd dress up and they'd drink green Jello shots and they'd, you know, make cupcakes that said "Eat Me" on them. And that's when it was like, I was intrigued. I was really like, wow, you know, why? What is going on? And I saw that it was they were having fun and they were being very sincere and genuine. You know, it wasn't like it was easy to get from the image that it wasn't cynical, it wasn't, you know, trying to be ironic, but they were actually having a good time. And that's for me. So 3.5 years ago.
You know, I gotta tell you something. I had an awareness last night watching the documentary for the first time, you know, in the screening, is that when I watched the documentary, I feel like I've been in one of the best documentaries that's ever been made.
Well, thanks.
After coming back from being in one of the worst films ever made, and I felt like I was let off the hook last night. So what was true for me is I don't think I ever really truly embraced the fact that I was in a really bad movie. I don't think I ever. I mean, there was a torque or a tension on me through it. Even though we were doing this documentary for the last 3 years, I still kind of, you know, every time I walked down and every time we did something, it's like I kind of felt like when I was a kid I was called Georgie Porgy Puddin' Pie Kissed the girls that made him cry when Georgie Porgy came out to play. You know, Georgie Porgy ran away. Honestly, it was that kind of pain that I kind of felt being in Troll 2, and I am not.
Getting to some demons here.
No, it wasn't a demon thing. I'm just talking about the feeling of you know, just being in Troll 2. And I never let myself off the hook last night, Mike.
You saved his life, it sounds like.
Man, that's heavy.
Can you explain to us, like, the process you went through making this and how you got everyone together and to agree to want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it started after seeing, you know, seeing fans, seeing what they were doing. And once I had the idea, it wasn't ever a, maybe I should do this, maybe I shouldn't. It was like, I have to do it. And it was, once I started going down that road, there wasn't a turning back. It wasn't a question of this isn't going to work, or, you know, I had no idea. It's good looking back that I didn't know all the challenges that would happen along the way, and it would take so long, because I think you kind of have to go into something like this not knowing better and just going for it. And that's where it started, was that commitment, just saying I'm going to do it. And then it was, you know, reaching out to fans and reaching out to cast members. And luckily, you know, right off the bat, there were other cast members that really said, let's do this. You know, Darren Ewing and Jason Stedman and Jason Wright, all of those guys, they got it up front and said, let's have fun with this. And so then it was momentum, and then it was one of these things where it's kind of like a snowball. You know, there's one screening, and then all of a sudden there's another screening, and so forth. And every step of the way throughout the whole film, it was just thinking about the next challenge and saying, okay, now we have to film this, otherwise we'll never get it. And making sure there were camera people in Chicago to shoot what we needed, and just continually advancing it along and trying not to get too overwhelmed with, you know, well, when is it going to be done? Just following the story. And that, you know, that's kind of where it started. And also early on, I wanted it to be, I did not want to make a movie that was just about fandom. It's documented, it's well documented, and I wanted it to be more about the characters and more about the people that were involved in this, and you know, and seeing more from the side of the cast that was involved with this thing. And I wanted it to be driven by those characters. I didn't want a first-person quest doc, you know, something where, yeah, we're discovering the worst movie ever made. I wanted it to be a story that had a lot of notes, you know, fandom, low notes, you know, human notes, absurdity. That is where I was going with it early on, and I felt that the characters, you know, and just the situation of Troll 2, just knowing about it just lent itself so well to something like this. And I thought, if I don't do it, you know, who else is going to do it? And I had access to everybody, and luckily it was just one of these things, you know, just continually trying to just push it along and seeing, I guess, kind of seeing the end in mind. Like, I felt that we'd eventually get done, and we'd be at South by Southwest. And it takes, the hardest thing about this, I think, with this subject was that it takes a lot of time to find any sort of arc. It's not, there's no beginning and middle end that's like a competition documentary, something where you know there's going to be an end. This is still happening today. You know, there's still fandom, and so I never felt like I could put the camera down or we could stop. It was like, oh, we got it, and it was happening all over the place. So that was challenging, and it was nerve-wracking, because I would get, you know, I'd get emails from fans. I got an email from some fans in New York, who had snuck up on this skyscraper and hung up this homemade sheet and screened Troll 2 with like 5 of their friends and sent me pictures with New York City in the background as they're watching Troll 2. And at that moment, I'm just like, damn it, why wasn't I there? You know, I gotta get this type of stuff. And so it's hard because it's so organic. It's all over the place. So.
We have a Twitter page, and normally whenever we interview someone, we like to ask, is there something that you guys would want us to ask? And one of our friends from horrorfilmmagazine.com wrote back, and he wanted to know if there's going to be a Troll remake.
You know, Claudio, that's his big, the way he was thinking when he, you know, started seeing what was happening with Troll 2, the first thing he thought was, I've got to make Troll 3. I have to make, you know, that's where his mind was. In fact, when we brought him back to LA, he, when he came back to LA, he said, okay, Michael, while we're there, we shoot a little promo for Troll 3. You go in the McDonald's, grab a burger, and scream. And that's it. And so that's where he's, you know, that's where he's at. He wants to do Troll 3. And, you know, he's, who's to say? You know, Rosella and him are working on a script, and they want to do it. With his heart and his passion, I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Thank you all for coming to the 5th annual Los Angeles Troll 2 party.
Oh my God, you didn't see it?
You haven't seen Troll 2?
Put it in now. No matter what you're doing, you drop what you're doing. You go, oh, you haven't seen Troll 2? We're watching it now.
2 decades after it was made, Troll 2 is finally finding an audience, and the fans are not necessarily all completely crazy.
Troll 2 is a religion! A religion!
My friends and I thought we were like the only people in the world who knew about this.
Oh my God! Wow!
George has told me that it has spread, the interest has spread, or cultic, I guess you would call it.
You would have thought that, like, Robert De Niro had come into the building.
I don't feel that kind of feeling when I'm drilling a cavity.
And action!
How does it feel that you were the director of the worst movie ever made?
What do you think that you were the worst movie? I did a very good movie.
He really believed in what he was making. And that makes a big difference.
E il film da solo dice, fuck you, to the critics.
We really were trying to make a good movie. We really were.
Just stop watching it right now. It gets worse.
You are an actor. You cannot laugh. You must be serious, okay?
All right. I'm sure George Hardy is a great dentist, but I respect him as an actor.
I was in a film called Troll 2.